Welcome to the Capitalist Corner, everyone. As you can see, I am once again all by my lonesome. Mark had to take Frankie to the vet today, so he unfortunately cannot be with us. But if you can, let him know, wish Frankie well and wish him well, and hopefully things will turn out well for the Frankster. So there's really not much news going on in the world. So I guess I can just remind you to check out my podcast, The Rational Egoist. A great new episode is out on artificial intelligence with Jonathan McDonald. I highly recommend the episode. Also, remember to hit that like button and go to AmericanCapitalistParty.org. So happy Friday to you, Kathy. Today is your questions. I'm here to answer them. Please bring them. They will definitely help to move the show along. But there is this little matter of Israel striking Iran's nuclear capabilities. And there's a lot going on in regard to this. So the first thing is this. Iran has been calling for the eradication and termination of Israel since 1979. They have funded groups that attack Israel, like Hamas and Hezbollah. They certainly are sponsors of terrorism on the international scene. And years ago, I was having a conversation with a rabbi, and he told me that Israel simply cannot allow Iran to develop a nuclear weapon. Now, with the apparent talks that are going nowhere between the Trump administration and Iran, one can certainly understand Israel's sense of need to take out the nuclear capabilities of a country that has vowed for their termination. I agree with that. I do not oppose Israel's right to attack Iran. I do not say that Israel is wrong for attacking Iran. I think that's good, and maybe they should have done it a long time ago. Now, the Trump administration has kind of, been waffling a little bit on this, but ultimately they said they support Israel. They've threatened Iran that, no Americans better get harmed. They better not, in their retaliatory efforts, harm any American citizens, American troops. And I think that's good. I really do not think that the United States should get involved in this. I think that we should give Israel our moral support and allow them to take care of business. Don't stand in their way. Don't impede them. But I definitely do not think that we should be getting involved. But now let me tell you a little bit about my skepticism, and it's my skepticism of governments in general. In 2003, I was an avid supporter of the Iraq War. I thought that they had chemical and biological weapons, nuclear ambitions. This is what we were told over and over again. Now, the fact of the matter is they were defying UN resolutions over and over and over again. Saddam Hussein had demonstrated a propensity to invade his neighbors. We had just been attacked on 9/11, although not by Saddam. It was from that region. And the fact that it was, he tried to have an American president killed, and George Bush. So it was understandable for me at the time. I was in my 20s to buy into that. I also bought into the right-wing radio, Rush Limbaugh, right-wing magazines like the Weekly Standard, National Review, that were saying that the media was misrepresenting what was going on over there. The war was going much better than what was being said. It all turned out to be crap, right? And a lot of people died because of it. Now, Kathy rightly points out that in 1979, Iran took American hostages. That's true. Iran has called America the Great Satan, also true. And they have been calling for Israel's demise ever since 1979. True. Now, Benjamin Netanyahu in 1992 said that Iran is 3 to 5 years away from nuclear capabilities. He's been saying that ever since. Benjamin Netanyahu is a politician. I don't trust politicians. So when Benjamin Netanyahu says that Iran is so close to getting a nuclear weapon, I'm skeptical. I'm not saying the man's lying. I'm not saying it's not true. I definitely think that Iran has nuclear ambitions. There's no doubt about that. And I do support Israel's strike, but I'm not going to pretend that Benjamin Netanyahu is trustworthy, that he is telling the truth all the time, given what I just told you, given that there's been statements that he's made about, basically holding Americans in the palm of his hand, some such thing. So I don't trust him. I am rooting for Israel in this endeavor. I hope that the war comes to a swift end and with a victory for Israel. I hope they don't beat around the bush. And I certainly hope that we don't get involved, and I hope other countries don't get involved. War is said to be hell, and I have no doubt that it is. I'm very pleased that I never experienced it, and I do not want to experience it. So that's where I stand on the issue. I support Israel. They definitely had a right to take out Iran's nuclear capabilities. They have a right to continue to do so. Iran's called for their elimination, but I don't think that we should get involved militarily. What say you? Bring your questions, ask away. Akira Felix says Iran attacked Israel last year. This is self-defense. Yeah, but Israel attacked them before that. But it doesn't matter to me. You have a country that came out in 1979 for the eradication of Israel and has been calling for it ever since and has been funding their enemies. So it's self-defense from Israelis' perspective anyway. But I don't put it on a simple thing. Well, Iran attacked them last year, so now they're just defending against that, because it's been going on a lot longer than that. But yes, I welcome your questions on this, and if I can answer them, I will. I'm by no means a foreign policy expert. The complexities of foreign policy and the fact that governments lie make it very difficult to come up with an honest, intelligent assessment of these things. So, I have I believe, healthy skepticism, and I'm by no means without positions. I just am very careful when speaking about these matters. So, what about this Alex Padilla yesterday? What do you think about that? The senator from California taken out in handcuffs, or at least removed physically. I shouldn't have said handcuffs because I'm not positive. Kathy Cassio says she thinks of the brave woman standing up to the regime, risking their lives. Yes, Kathy, I agree with you for sure. The mullahs in Iran are religious tyrants. They're primitives, and there's no doubt about that in my mind. But so back to this Alex Padilla. The problem is the video begins with him being restrained. So I don't know what happened prior to him being restrained. I certainly think that he did identify himself as a senator, although he wasn't wearing his senatorial pin. But he did say, I'm a senator. I want to ask questions. And I think that regardless of what our opinions on it, it's not a good sign and not a good thing to have a sitting United States senator physically removed from a federal building, or from a press conference inside of a federal building. It's just not good. I think that it was probably a political stunt on Padilla's part, but no more of a stunt than the press conference, and no more of a stunt than what all these politicians are doing, trying to take advantage of a horrible situation. The thing that really caught my attention about this were the statements of Kristi Noem. And let me just get it. I want to have the exact quote because I don't want to misrepresent what she said. But she said, okay, we had quite the argument yesterday going on in this messenger chat. So I have to scroll back quite a bit, but I will find it. Okay, there it goes. Okay. Kristi Noem said that the Department of Homeland Security, quote, is staying here to liberate this city, Los Angeles, from the socialist and burdensome leadership that this governor and this mayor have placed in this country and what they have tried to insert into this city. Okay, so we could, Dangerous Loaf, go ahead and post your questions and I'll try to answer them when I get done talking about this. First of all, the calling of everybody with whom we disagree socialist is lame. It's no different than when the Democrats refer to Republicans as fascists. These are labels that are thrown out there in order to evoke an emotional response. They're not accurate, and I don't think that they're helpful at all. I think that certainly the Democrats are welfare statists. They're big government types. They certainly are not for individual rights, but socialism means a specific thing. And the problem is when you call people socialists that aren't socialists, you water down the term. And we need to be able to communicate clearly. Our concepts have to be clearly formed. We need to be able to have discussions. And when we obfuscate by using labels that don't apply, it just confuses and mucks everything up. So Deeper with Diego says how other people use labels is irrelevant as long as you correctly identify a person's behavior with the proper word. That's all that matters. That's all that matters in my own mind for my own intellectual integrity, sure. But as far as what happens in the world, it's not just a matter of what I identify, because the viewpoints and opinions of other people matter. They have an effect. They vote. They influence public policy. They drive public narratives, which is why they tend to use words like this, because they know that that happens. So I don't live in a bubble where just because my conceptual clarity is strong, it means that everybody else doesn't affect me, because it absolutely does. And then this idea that they are liberating the people of California from their burdensome leadership. Wow. Well, these burdensome leaders were elected by these people. Now, I'm not, Mr. Democracy. I don't think that just because a majority wants something means they get it, or should get it. But I also don't think it's up to Kristi Noem and the Department of Homeland Security to step in and say, "Oh, we're going to relieve you of this burdensome leadership." That's up to the people to vote if they want to get that leadership out, if they disapprove of it. The people did not vote for Kristi Noem. I know that for sure. So Bonnie Bertrand says, did the U.S. help refuel fighter planes yesterday? Hasn't Iran been behind attacks on the U.S., including 9/11? They've been saying officially death to U.S. tonight since 1969. I didn't hear anything about refueling planes yesterday. It's possible. I don't think so, but it might have happened. I've never heard that Iran was behind the 9/11 attacks, not from any reputable source. And they have been saying, yes, death to America, death to America, death to America. War is a very hellish thing, Bonnie. So I'm very skeptical about getting involved in them. They've been saying it since 1979. They're largely feckless to do anything really about it. Doesn't mean I can't be convinced. It's not a thing where I'm saying, no way, we should never get involved. I'm just very skeptical about the claims of our leaders. I understand that war costs a lot of money and a lot of lives. And those are going to be American lives if we get involved. And then you don't know what the further repercussions are, what other countries are going to get involved. And when it comes to the issue of war, I would much prefer to, first of all, if we're going to have a war, have a clear goal. This is what we want to do. And it's not going to be winning the hearts and minds of the citizens of the other country. It's going to be elimination of the regime with which we're at war. And that should be it. But we don't generally do that. We don't put out stated goals. We're not clear on what we want to accomplish. Our leadership is largely incompetent. These wars drag on for years and years, and nothing really gets accomplished. As evidence, I give you Iraq, Afghanistan. previously, Vietnam, Korea. So I'm very skeptical. Doesn't mean that we should not ever go to war. I'm just saying that I'm very skeptical. Let's see. Okay, Deeper with Diego says Iran wasn't behind 9/11. Akira Felix says, I hate when Democrats hurt a just cause they stand for. In this case, I agree. Rock Chartrand said, is there a line you draw to decide whether someone should be judged either as good but flawed versus too flawed to be good? If so, where? There's no line, Rock. I think if somebody tells me they know the specific line or point at which that happens, I don't believe them. It's like saying, where does somebody stop being poor? At which point? Tell me the exact dollar amount. I don't know. I can clearly distinguish between rich and poor. And I can clearly distinguish between good and evil, but with mixed cases, and honestly, the burden is on the mixed case, the person of the mixed case, to prove to me that they're more good than bad. It's not up to me to go out of my way to decide this. But I don't know where the exact line is. It's very, very difficult to draw. But I do think that we need to do it in our everyday lives. We need to be able to judge people. We need to be able to assess them based on their rationality, based on how they treat others, based on their productive capacities. I mean, there's a lot of metrics that we use, and it's a necessity, but I don't believe that there is any such point. So that where we can decide. Kira Felix says, I oppose getting involved in conflicts because they're never ending and cost American lives. Michael Munger article about how government actually gets things done changed my mind on foreign policy. Michael Munger's the article that you're referring to, I believe, is called Unicorn Governance, and it had a profound impact on my thinking. And what Michael Munger says is whenever you are advocating or anybody is advocating that the government do something, whether it be fix poverty, long-term production plans or, that projects, that sort of thing, they're going to pass this law, that law, go to war, whatever. He says, instead of saying the government or the state or public officials, substitute the politicians that you actually know. So in this case, let's consider in a war with Iran, the people that would actually be running it. Donald Trump, Pete Hegseth, Kristi Noem on this end for the Homeland Security. These are not people that I trust. These are not people that exude competence. So regardless of whether I think that, even if I was a hardcore person that said, a hardcore evidence that, and I said, okay, yes, America should definitely take out Iran. My view that America should take out Iran, well, you'd have to then plug that into the actual people that are in charge of doing this. And I'm simply nowhere near confident enough to think that, they could get this done. They get this done properly. I want to go back and see Robert Nasir, says, given AI and automation, drones and high tech, the capacity for destruction will continue to escalate until anyone can destroy anyone. We'd better have upgraded or 86th civilizations by then. There's a lot of risk coming with AI. There's no doubt about that, Robert. I just did a great podcast about it, as I talked about at the beginning of the show, with Jonathan McDonald. I don't know all the answers, and I don't know what should be done. What I do know beyond the shadow of a doubt is that the American government has a history of lying to us. What I do know is that Netanyahu has been saying for over 30 years that Iran is right there to develop a nuclear weapon. What I do know is I don't trust Donald Trump, Pete Hegseth, Kristi Noem and company to accomplish much of anything. So when I'm thinking of a war with Iran, those are the people that I'm thinking about that are going to be running it. I think that Akira Felix makes a wonderful, wonderful point. Race Jacobson says, good people can just be wrong, whereas bad people can pretend to be good. It's not an easy thing to judge. No, it is not. Kira Felix says, deeper with Diego, he had a debate with Jim Valiant about it. I don't know what he's referring to there. Bonnie Bertrand says, by Iran being behind 911, I mean Iran's ideology and probably their money. I missed the beginning of the show. I'm not advocating declaring war at this point. Moral and financial support. I agree with the moral support. I'm not there yet with the financial support. I don't. The Iranian ideology, the problem here is that Al-Qaeda developed from Wahhabis, Sunni Muslims, right? What the hell is his name? I can't remember the guy's name now. It doesn't matter. But the point is that it's not exactly the same ideology. In fact, the Sunnis and the Shia quite frequently are at war with each other. Hence, you had the war between Iraq and Iran, and you also had a lot of problems within Iraq between the Sunni and the Shia. So these aren't exactly exact ideologies. I know they all fall under the umbrella of Islam, but it's like if you say, well, under the umbrella of Christianity, there's vast differences. So I just wouldn't put Iran as behind 9/11, Bonnie. Maybe there's evidence that I'm missing, but that's certainly possible. But I have not seen it. I want to see. I'm looking at the chat here. I'm not seeing any questions. Let me see if I can find the. Oh, this is an interesting turn of events. So Trump now is coming out, and I guess he feels bad for the farmers. The farmers are losing their employees because they're being shipped out of the country. So now Trump is saying, well, maybe something can be done to protect the farmers. And my question is, well, why? If it's so wrong for immigrants to illegally come into the country, what's the problem? I mean, you'd have to get rid of them. I'm not for getting rid of them because I don't think they did anything wrong. But because Trump's constituency is hurt by it, now he wants to help. This is the big problem, one, with granting favors to your constituency to try to get elected, which, of course, the Democrats have mastered. But it's also the problem with being unprincipled, because your opinion can change on the dime. Oh, well, this seems expedient now, so let's do this. But when you're constantly doing that, you build up a reputation as somebody that cannot be trusted. So when you go into a negotiation, for instance, how does anybody know? If Trump says he's going to do something, how do they know he's going to do it? Like he's going to make a tariff deal. Well, he might change his mind if some constituency's hurt. So Deeper with Diego ask, what is your opinion on the concept of whataboutism? Optimistically, I see people using that as a way to tie principles behind someone's actions with one's knowledge implicitly, even though they may. I think that whataboutism is kind of a double-edged sword, right? So if I've got a bad position and I say, well, what about yours? It's bad too. I think it's silly because, well, I'm just as bad, right? Or I'm at least bad. So saying whataboutism is nonsensical. It's just, hypocritical on my part as it is on the other person's part. Now, the master of calling whataboutism that I've come across is Scott Schiff. Now, I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. So when I'm criticizing everybody on the political scene, and then Scott says that's whataboutism because he's defending Trump, and then I say, or he's attacking the left, and I say, well, what about Trump? What about what they're doing? He said, oh, that's whataboutism. Well, in my mind, it's kind of not whataboutism because I'm not justifying one side by referring to the other. What I'm saying is both sides are bad, and we ought to be opposed to both sides. We ought not to buy into this idea that we can get into bed with somebody like Donald Trump and he's going to rescue us from the left, and then later on we can come save ourselves. That's just garbage in my view. Deeper with Diego says, is it simply used as a polemic to win arguments? I think a lot of things are polemics used to win arguments. When truth is not the criteria, truth to me matters, right? It's not just about winning. I love to debate. I mean, that should be obvious to anybody that follows me. But truth is more important than winning the debate, right? And so if somebody asks me a tough question and I don't know the answer, I don't just make something up on the fly. If I can think through it principally in a fast way, I'll do it. But sometimes you can't. Sometimes it's a tough question. And then the answer is, I don't know. But some people, when it comes to, polemics, they just want to win. So they'll throw anything out there. Akira Felix, he says, just like you said about Netanyahu, politicians want to get reelected. I believe even Ted Cruz would have defaulted on everything he promised during his campaign. I supported Ted Cruz in the 2016 primary, Akira, and I heard he was a great constitutionalist. I knew he was very well schooled in Austrian economics. I knew he was a Christian, but I felt, well, if he'll put the Constitution first, it doesn't matter to me, his religious beliefs. I saw him stand up to Donald Trump. I saw him at the Republican National Convention refuse to endorse Trump. And I thought, yeah, this is my guy. Within weeks, he folded, and he's just basically had his lips attached to Trump's ass ever since. So I think you're right. I think that if he were president, he would cave. That's what they do. It gets to what I think Mark was talking about yesterday, right? Where Mark said that the people that want to be president should not be president. Because what they're actually after is power, aggrandizement of their own fragile egos. They're not actually trying to make it a better country or principally put in better policies. They're looking to buy votes. And by buy votes, I don't mean, actual cash, although sometimes that's actually the case, but it's about promising people that you're going to do things just to get them to vote for you, whether you actually believe in those things or not. Kira Felix says, Scott is a master, meaning Scott Schiff, of that. He assumed for me that I was a registered Democrat. Yeah. Robert Naser says, Ted Cruz at his best had the potential to be outstanding. I agree. Very smart guy. He used to talk intelligently about the Constitution. We're getting a lot of comments, so I have to now scroll back up. He used to read Ayn Rand into the public record on the floor of the Senate. Deeper with Diego asks a question here. He says, a few weeks ago, you mentioned that the press secretary position should not exist. There was no other context given. In a capitalist system, how would a government communicate its ideas to the citizens? Okay, so let me clarify what I meant by that. I mean, there should not be a press secretary that's just there to defend the administration, no matter what the administration does. That's a position that's out to deceive the American people in order to benefit the client, in this case, the president and the president's administration. I have no issue with there being somebody that's out there to actually communicate ideas to the citizenry or to communicate what is happening. It's just that what that's become and what it currently is, I don't think should exist. Let me see. Okay, I don't see any new questions. Oh, wow. Race Jacobson. They used to be called MOGAs, make objectivism great again. They came up with the whole ablectivist nonsense. Yeah, ablectivist to me is such a childish, stupid little saying. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I guess that it's kind of goes right along with Trump, right? With his stupid nicknames that he runs around calling people. Like ablectivist, really? I don't even know how to respond to that. A lot of times I'll get called a leftist by people to whom, by comparison, I'm so far to their right on most issues, but they just can't get out of the tribal mindset. The objectivists that have gone full bore for Trump and just defend everything he does, the question is whether those people are, even objectivists. I don't know. I'm not the gatekeeper. I'm not the edgelord. I do know that the books by Ayn Rand that I've read, the books by Leonard Peikoff that I've read, do not support the idea of going, full bore behind one of these two parties. That much I know. Now, let me see. We got to scroll down here. Sic Parvis Magnus, his press secretary should be nonpartisan. Hey, I'm okay. I think that that's a very good idea. There was I didn't know about this. Enric says there was the Trumpist Ayn Rand Eagles. That sounds ridiculous. Oh, goodness gracious. Race Jacobson says they insinuate that we're leftists or that we're smuggling leftism into objectivism. Yeah, it's dumb. I don't even like to really get into that. I will say this, my friend Andy Bernstein, he's a Trump voter. I know some people think he's an outright Trump supporter. I don't think he is, both from my conversations with him and interviews I've done with him. But he does think that the left is so bad that he votes Trump. I don't really have an issue with people who do that. I do have an issue with the all-out support of Trump, with the Trump can do no wrong crowd. That is where I have an issue. But Andy recently posted about me on his Facebook page, and I thought it was absolutely wonderful. He said, there's people on my site, a lot of you that call Liebowitz an ablectivist. He said, well, if he's an ablectivist, let's make the most of it. Of course, paraphrasing Patrick Henry's famous quote, if this be treason, let's make the most of it. And I think that, that's the way to go with this sort of stuff. Unless somebody has just given up on rationality, I mean, there's certainly room for disagreement about whether one should vote for Trump or not. I don't think there's room for honest disagreement about Trump being a real capitalist or being an Ayn Rand hero. When somebody says stuff like that, like Sherwin Newman, for instance, it's just absurd. Okay, let me see here. Deeper with Diego asked me a prison question. Did you need the full 25 years in prison to be what one would consider reformed, or did you clean your own psychology out beforehand? Could you have been released 5 or 10 years earlier? I think I could have been. I actually think that there comes a point in prison where you'll see the law of diminishing returns take hold. And what I mean by that is this. So there's a common saying that you can tell a person who a person's going to be, a year, 5 years from now by the books they read and the people they hang around. And I think that the people that one associates with do impact a person's psychology. So as you change in prison and as you become a more responsible thinker, the environment becomes more toxic to you. And it ends up being that the environment only really hurts the people that are trying to change, that are trying to do better in their lives. Because you've got, for instance, screaming and yelling all day long. So I'm trying to focus, I'm trying to learn, and you've got guys outside my door yelling and arguing about sports, slamming dominoes. There's also a lot of pressure to do things that you shouldn't be doing. Hey, smuggle this back for me, take this here, do this. You get a cellmate that moves in and he wants to smoke reefer in the cell. I mean, what am I going to do? Tell him, no, you can't. I'm not his boss. So you do end up with a lot of that sort of thing. What the exact right amount of time is, I don't know. The last 10 years in prison, though, I read an incredible amount of books and I had a lot of opportunities come my way to benefit myself. But who's to say what would have happened had I been released 10 years earlier? What kind of opportunities that I would have come across? So while I guess the short answer is no, I do not believe I needed the full 25 years in prison to reform myself, Diego. Thanks for the question. Race Jacobson says Andy's support of Trump is only contextual. Yes, I agree. Akira Felix says that Andrew Bernstein and Leonard Peikoff are his famous Trump supporters. Well, Dr. Peikoff, I think, has strayed away from that even. My friend Subby says Mike definitely could have been 10 years before he got out. However, his cellmate and best friend wouldn't have grown as much. So once his mate was removed, I wouldn't. I think that you're attributing far too much of Brent's growth to me, Sub. I certainly was benefited just as much from him. So, and he continues to grow and continues to learn to this day. Certainly, we both benefited tremendously from each other. There's no doubt about that. Come on, let's get some questions going, people. Oh, and why we have a break from the questions, go hit that like button. Hit the like button. Share the show. We need to grow this show. It has to be done. This is a great show. I'd say it's probably the second best podcast out there next to the Rational Egoist, which I'm partial to. I still have to say that it is the best. Oh no, I'm having a problem here. Okay, YouTube, boom. So yeah, go out, hit the like button, share this episode, and while you're at it, go to americancapitalistparty.org. I'm going to check right now on the deficit between viewers and likes, and I'm telling you right now, I better not be disappointed. Now on the deficit between viewers. Okay, you just heard the echo. All right. Okay, we do have a slight deficit. People, hit the like button. Subby agrees with me now. In a country which relies 100% on public health care, what would the shift to private be? Gradual? My hunch is to say gradual. Yeah, I wouldn't want to just throw people off healthcare who are used to, having the government to take care of it, especially because a lot of times it's not even really their fault. I mean, what I mean is that because of government policy, people are priced out of the market. They simply can't afford it. When if it were a free market, they could. So they end up. I mean, what are you going to do? Not get health care because government policy has priced you out of it, and then you're going to say the person's a hypocrite for accepting it? I wouldn't say so. So I would say do it gradually, but I would trust people who know far more about the inner workings of the healthcare system to figure out the best way to do it. But I definitely think it needs to be done. Yes, Robert Nasser says claims regarding who's really an objectivist without establishing what's meant by an objectivist, how and why you're making the evaluation are worse than pointless. They're not objective. Robert, I think I agree with you. Okay, yeah, I do agree with you. I had to really read into it. I agree with you, Robert, that is definitely the case. But I will say this, that the primary virtue of objectivism is rationality. And if somebody has obviously abandoned rationality and is repeating obvious mistruths, is engaging in confirmation bias to the umpteenth degree, I'm not the guy that determines it. So I'm not, but I think that to question it, I'd be very skeptical of such a person claiming to be an objectivist. Let me see here. I found the question. Rock Chartrand said, why shouldn't America fight beside Israel's side? I'm lost it now. I'm going to post Rock's question up on the screen. Why shouldn't America fight by Israel's side? Hasn't Iran long ago declared war on America? Just because they're weak doesn't mean they should be shielded. I think intent matters. It does, Rock, but the problem is this isn't happening in a vacuum. America can't just go take out Iran and then we all go to sleep at night. If economics teaches us anything, it's that there's unintended consequences. We don't know what's going to happen from it. Is Iran such a threat to America to justify, one, using American money and risking American lives to take them out? Two, to kill the innocent Iranians, of which there are some over there that we'd be inevitably doing, and to accept the reverberations that occur from it, what actually happens as a result of it. You can say, yeah, just go do it. But then what happens? What's going to happen in Iraq as a result? What's going to happen in Afghanistan as a result? What's Russia going to do in response? If we're spending so much money in military there, what does then North Korea do? There's just a lot more to it than, Iran's bad, let's take them out. There's a lot of countries in this world that are bad. We can't go around taking them all out. So I would say unless a country is a legitimate threat to the United States of America, meaning they have the capability to do serious damage to America and they're demonstrating intent to do serious damage to America, I don't think that we should be waging war on such a country. So that's my answer. Now, people may, come up with counter answers. It's not like I'm not declaring this is the hill that I'm going to die on. I'm just saying that I'm very skeptical of war. I'm very skeptical of the claims of governments. I'm very skeptical of this administration's ability to fight a war intelligently. And I'm very concerned about the consequences that would come about as a result. Let me see. We have Race Jacobson. I lost him. Ray says deregulate industry first, abolish welfare later. Okay. I've got something from Greg Lewis. Greg Lewis is awesome. Let me just say that. So Greg Lewis says Bill Britt in the Amway system used to say from stage, if someone announces they are a Christian, look out, you're about to be taken. Let me tell you about Bill Britt for a second. This guy, and he was, I saw him speak in Richmond, Virginia in 1995. What a dynamic speaker. He was a Christian fundamentalist. There was no doubt about that. He, full of fire and brimstone, but what a motivational speaker this guy was. I owe, no small amount to the person I am, to the Bill Britt and to the Amway system. I mean, through the Amway system, I read countless self-improvement books, motivational books. I learned how to believe in myself. I learned how to think positively, to plan for the future. Bill Britt, it was great to listen to him. Bill Britt, Ron Perrier, Jim Head was another guy. There were a lot of those Amway guys, they're Christian fundamentalists, but they were great, great motivational speakers. From them, I read books by Robert Schuller, Napoleon Hill, As a Man Thinketh by James Allen, Psycho-Cybernetics, Maxwell Maltz, all books that I would recommend to this day to anybody looking to grow. Robert Nasir says, objectivism is primarily for living your own life as best you can. Absolutely true. It's not about saving the world, changing the culture, solving national politics. Those things matter, but they're secondary. Robert, I could not agree more. In fact, I think that it's a damn shame that we even have to worry about things, the national politics, because there's so much evil and so much bad stuff out there. I much rather would just live in a perpetually free country where I could just make my own decisions and focus on my own life. Robert Nasir is an absolute all-star, people. If you're not following him, you need to. Perhaps best illustrates the objectivist spirit of anybody I've seen. Jim Valiant's great. Andy Bernstein's great too, but Robert's wonderful. So definitely give him a follow. He's great. And plus, Robert agrees with me about Greg Lewis. Greg Lewis is phenomenal. Greg Lewis says their books and tape system was phenomenal, not just for building an Amway group. Greg Lewis, if not for the Amway system, I can't say never, you don't know what's going to happen, but my route to Ayn Rand is right through Amway. From Amway, I read Milton Friedman's Free to Choose and Frederick Bastiat's The Law. From the law, I was introduced to the Foundation for Economic Education. From them, I was introduced to Laissez-Faire Books, and Laissez-Faire Books is where I bought my Ayn Rand books. So, the Amway system was awesome. I'm curious, Greg, what do you think your top 3 books from the Amway system? If you can, put them up there. I'd love to see them. Deeper with the Ego says, do you have any guilty pleasure music where the lyrics might be negative in some philosophical way, but you enjoy the beat and the tune? Yeah, absolutely. I actually, how do I put this? I think there's something to be said about listening to music that touches the darkness within somebody, that helps somebody to experience it. I think that there's a real part of my humanity that has suffered, and that's a part of my context. And so when I hear music that resonates with the suffering I've gone through, it's extremely pleasurable to me. I wouldn't recommend, doing it all day and night, but I like, for instance, Blue October. I think they have very good music. Disturbed, Godsmack, very good. Those would be the kind of, I think, guilty pleasure you called it, but I don't know that I would even call it guilty, because I don't know that there's anything wrong with it. If done for the right purpose, done for the reason of feeling my humanity, of understanding what I've been through, of relating to my former self in such a way, and then I can really appreciate who I am now. Let me go down just a little bit. Anger is a legitimate reaction to injustice, and there's music that allows you to fully express that. I agree. Lee, let me tell you something. I love Taylor Swift, and I will not tolerate Taylor bashing on this show. Nobody, you better not bash her. I absolutely love Taylor Swift. I love her music. I think she's great. Lee is seeing Disturbed in October. I wish I could go with you. Akira Felix asked Deeper Diego if he still listens to Queen instrumentals. And Greg Lewis says, I'd have to refresh my memory from my bookshelf. Lee says, yes, Michael, you are a Swiftie. I knew you were. Yes, I absolutely. Oh, God. Favorite song? I don't know. What's that? All Too Well? Is that the name of the song? I think is great. There's a lot of very, very, very good songs from Taylor Swift. All Too Well, I love. Love Song is great. There's so many of them. Cowboy Like Me, I love. I can't remember them all, but they are wonderful. I'm getting a call that I can't answer, and it's actually an important call, but what are you going to do? I'm not going to, he'll leave the message on the voicemail. Lee loves All Too Well. Yes, I do. Oh, Metallica. Aaron Alfeche. Metallica was the first concert I ever went to alone. The Injustice for All tour. I was 12 years old. March 1989. Hartford Civic Center. They were opened up for by Queensryche. Very, very good concert. I love Metallica. Think they're absolutely wonderful. So yes, I left them out. I apologize for that. Lee is seeing Metallica next year. Greatly. I'm very, very happy about it. Okay. If there are no more questions, I am going to cut this episode a little bit short today, but if somebody has a question, I'll answer it before I take off. Going once, going twice. All right. Before I do the capitalist thought of the day, I will remind you, hit the like button, check out the Rational Egoist podcast, and go to AmericanCapitalistParty.org. Lee, I don't have a favorite color. I'm sorry. I am I'll tell a quick story. I'm not a visual person at all. I don't really notice things in my visual field at all. Subby's going to be laughing his ass off as I tell this story. So I moved back here. When did I move back here now? Last April. So it's been 14 months I've been back here. So the first month or so I was back here. Now my bedroom is in the basement, so I come in through the garage. So I had been coming in through the garage for a month, maybe two. So one day I walk into the garage and I look around and there's all these flags and party favors hanging and whatnot. And I'm like, what's going on here? What are they having a party? So Subby comes home and I said, hey, well, what are you having a party in the garage? What's going on? And he informs me that this stuff has been up for, as long as I'd been back. So I'd been walking in and out of this garage every day for over a month and did not notice that it was legitimately set up for a party. The point is, visual stuff, don't really notice it. People get very frustrated with me. You didn't see that? No, didn't see it. Did not see it. Okay. So let me throw out the capitalist thought of the day. And the capitalist thought of the day is going to piggyback on what Robert said. The best reason to advocate for capitalism is because it allows individuals to flourish. It allows individuals to lead their own lives to the best of their ability, to be their best selves. It allows us to flourish, to grow, to produce, to be the best that we can be, to self-actualize. These things are far more important than the political machinations of people on either party. The whole point is so that each of us is allowed to thrive. So with that, I am going to go. Remember to hit that like button, people. Please. Thank you all so much for being here. Monday, next week is going to be a little touchy. We're going to try to do episodes on a daily basis. I will be at PorkFest in New Hampshire representing the American Capitalist Party. I also have to give a speech while I'm there. But I am going to try. I'm going to bring my laptop. I'm going to bring my mic, and I'm going to try to get an episode up every day while I'm there. I will be back on Thursday. So Thursday we will be back to completely normal. But I will definitely be trying to do episodes from PorkFest, bring you all the stuff that I can from there. It's ultimately, Ariana says, do them live at PorkFest. That's the plan. I just don't know what the situation is with the Wi-Fi and the connection. But if I can do it, I will be doing it. So until then, in the words of the great Mark Pellegrino, do not forget to check your premises. Thank you.